Welcome to a deep dive into a world where monsters lurk and heroes rise, a journey into the heroic past. Today we're cracking open the epic poem Beowulf. For our exploration, Epic Echoes, the Beowulf Breakdown.
Beowulf. It's a story that's captivated audiences for over 1,000 years. We're working with Stephen Mitchell's translation, which really brings the poem to life for modern readers.
It does, and what's amazing is how relevant this ancient tale feels even today. So let's start with the hero himself, Beowulf. He's this legendary Geatish warrior said to be unbelievably strong.
The poem actually compares his strength to that of 30 men, but it's not just brute force that defines him. Beowulf also embodies the Anglo-Saxon ideals of courage, loyalty, and a strong sense of justice.
And that's what drives him to travel across the sea to Heorot, the great hall of King Hrothgar in Denmark. He's heard about the trouble they're having, and he's not one to sit idly by when someone needs help.
Right. And the trouble in Heorot is terrifying. It's not war, it's not famine, it's a monster. Grendel, this foul night fiend, as the poem describes him, has been terrorizing Heorot and devouring anyone he can catch.
Imagine the fear that must have gripped Hrothgar's people. Their mead hall, a place of community and celebration, has been turned into a hunting ground for this shadowy creature.
And here's where Beowulf's character really shines. He chooses to confront Grendel in a way that seems almost unthinkable, unarmed.
You'd think he'd want every weapon he could get his hands on. Why do you think he makes that choice?
It's a powerful statement. By refusing to rely on weapons, Beowulf is demonstrating his unwavering faith in his own strength and God's favor. It's almost like he's saying, I'm so confident in my abilities and my purpose that I don't need any advantage.
That's incredible. It really elevates the fight beyond just a physical contest. It becomes a battle of wills, of good versus evil.
Exactly. And it's this interplay between the physical and the symbolic that makes Beowulf so fascinating. The monsters, the battles, the heroes, they all operate on multiple levels.
Speaking of monsters, Grendel isn't the only one Beowulf has to contend with, is he? There's talk of an even more fearsome creature lurking in the shadows.
Yes, Grendel's mother. After Beowulf defeats Grendel, she emerges from her underwater lair, driven by a thirst for vengeance.
An underwater lair that adds a whole other dimension of danger and mystery to the story. What can you tell us about her?
Well, the poem portrays her as just as monstrous as Grendel, perhaps even more so, because she's fueled by this intense maternal rage. She lives in this dark, watery underworld, which adds to her mystique and makes her a truly formidable opponent for Beowulf.
So we have two very different monsters here, Grendel, who represents this primal, almost mindless force of destruction, and his mother, who brings a more calculated, strategic element to the conflict. It's like they represent two different kinds of challenges that humans face.
That's a great observation, and it speaks to the richness of the poem's symbolism. These monsters can be seen as metaphors for any number of challenges. Inner demons, external threats, the forces of chaos that constantly threaten to disrupt our lives.
And Beowulf, with his unwavering courage and determination, represents the part of us that fights back against those forces.
Exactly. He embodies that heroic spirit that strives to overcome adversity, no matter how daunting the odds.
But even Beowulf, the mightiest of heroes, can't escape his fate. There's one more monster waiting for him in the twilight of his life, a fire-breathing dragon.
Ah, yes, the dragon. This creature guards a massive treasure hoard, and its fiery breath represents a final, almost inevitable test for Beowulf. It's a confrontation that will force him to confront his own mortality.
It seems like each of these monsters represents a different stage in a hero's journey. The youthful Beowulf faces Grendel, testing his strength and courage. He then confronts Grendel's mother, demonstrating his resourcefulness and strategic thinking. And finally, as an older, wiser king, he faces the dragon, which ultimately leads to his demise.
That's a brilliant insight. You've touched on one of the core themes of Beowulf, the idea that even the greatest heroes are subject to the passage of time and the inevitability of fate. It's interesting, isn't it, how the poem doesn't shy away from the reality of aging and death, even for a hero like Beowulf.
It definitely adds a layer of complexity. But before we delve further into the dragon and Beowulf's final battle, I'm curious about the battles themselves. The poem is known for these incredibly vivid, almost visceral descriptions of combat. What purpose do you think those serve?
It's not just about glorifying violence. The detailed descriptions of Beowulf's struggles against these monstrous beings heighten the sense of danger and highlight the immense courage required to face such threats.
It's like you're right there in the thick of it, with him, feeling every blow, every surge of adrenaline.
Exactly. And beyond the physical struggle, those intense battle scenes also underscore the importance of strategy and cunning. For instance, when Beowulf faces Grendel's mother, he doesn't just rely on brute force. He uses his wits, adapting to the environment, finding a giant sword in her lair to gain an advantage.
That's a great point. He's not just a warrior, he's a thinker too. He's assessing the situation, finding the best approach, which really elevates him beyond a simple one-dimensional hero.
It's also fascinating how the poem uses these battles to explore the idea of good versus evil. Beowulf's victories, especially against creatures like Grendel, who seem to represent pure chaos and darkness, reinforce the idea that good can triumph, even in the face of overwhelming odds.
It's a theme that resonates across cultures and throughout history. The battle between light and darkness, order and chaos, it's a universal struggle.
Absolutely. And Beowulf embodies the values that are often associated with that fight for good: courage, loyalty, selflessness. He risks his own life to protect others, to uphold justice, and to maintain order in the world.
And that loyalty isn't just limited to his own people. Remember, he travels to Heorot to help a foreign king. It suggests that these values transcend borders and cultures.
Precisely. It speaks to a kind of universal code of honor, a recognition of the importance of community and helping those in need, regardless of their origin.
So we've talked about the battles, the monsters, the themes of good versus evil and loyalty, but there's another important element we haven't touched on yet, the role of fate.
Yes. Fate. It's a concept that weaves its way through the entire poem. Beowulf may be a hero of extraordinary strength and courage, but even he is subject to the whims of destiny.
And that's ultimately what leads him to his final confrontation with the dragon, right?
Like-
Even after all his victories, he can't escape his preordained end.
Exactly. The dragon, in a way, represents the inevitability of death, the ultimate challenge that every mortal must face. Beowulf defeats the dragon, but in doing so, he receives a fatal wound.
It's a poignant reminder that even the greatest heroes are mortal. Their lives, like all lives, have a beginning, a middle, and an end. But it's what they accomplish during that time, the legacy they leave behind, that truly matters.
And Beowulf's legacy is one of extraordinary courage, selflessness, and unwavering adherence to a code of honor. He demonstrates what it means to be a true hero, both in his actions and in the values he embodies.
It's fascinating how a poem written so long ago can still speak to us today. The themes of courage, loyalty, good versus evil, they're as relevant now as they were centuries ago. What else can we learn from this epic tale?
Beowulf also offers a glimpse into the Anglo-Saxon world, their beliefs, values, and social structures. For instance, the importance of kinship and the warrior code are woven throughout the poem.
You can almost feel the weight of history, the echoes of an ancient culture, in every line. It's like we're transported back in time.
And it's not just a history lesson. Beowulf's enduring popularity speaks to the power of storytelling itself. It reminds us that stories can connect us across time and cultures, exploring universal themes that resonate with audiences regardless of their background.
It makes you wonder what Beowulf would think of our modern world, doesn't it? What challenges he would face, what kind of hero he would be.
Now that's a thought-provoking question. If Beowulf were to step into our time, what monsters would he confront? Would he battle against social injustice or fight to protect the environment? Or perhaps even stand up to the forces that threaten our digital world?
So many possibilities. It really makes you reconsider the very definition of heroism in our modern age.
And that's the beauty of a story like Beowulf. It transcends its historical context and continues to inspire new interpretations, new ways of thinking about what it means to be human, to face challenges, and to leave a meaningful mark on the world.
It's truly an epic echo that resonates through the ages. It really does make you think, doesn't it? About how these ancient stories can still offer so much wisdom and insight for us in the modern world.
Absolutely. It's like holding up a mirror to human nature, reflecting those fundamental struggles and aspirations that transcend time and place.
Speaking of reflections, there's another fascinating aspect of Beowulf that's worth pondering. The Tolman's blend of Christian and pagan elements.
That's a really intriguing detail. Remember how Beowulf often thanks God for his victories, yet his people give him a traditional pagan ship burial at the end.
Yeah. It seems like a bit of a contradiction. It makes you wonder what the poet was trying to convey.
Well, it's likely a reflection of the time period. Beowulf was likely composed during a period of transition when Anglo-Saxon England was converting from paganism to Christianity.
So perhaps the poem captures that tension between the old ways and the new beliefs, reflecting the complexities of a culture undergoing a profound shift.
That's a very insightful point. It's as if the poem itself is grappling with these competing worldviews, mirroring the internal struggles of the people living through that era.
It adds another layer of depth to the story, doesn't it? It's not just a straightforward tale of heroes and monsters. It's a reflection of a culture in flux, wrestling with questions of faith, identity, and the changing nature of their world.
Exactly. And that's what makes studying ancient texts so fascinating. They offer these glimpses into the past, these echoes of human experiences and dilemmas that are still relevant today.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Beowulf, what are the key takeaways you hope listeners will remember? What makes this epic poem worth revisiting, even after centuries?
For me, it's the timeless themes. It's about facing our fears, fighting for what we believe in, and understanding the enduring power of courage, loyalty, and selflessness.
It's also a reminder that even the greatest heroes face challenges, setbacks, and ultimately their own mortality. It's a story that embraces the complexities of life, both the triumphs and the tragedies.
And it encourages us to consider what it means to be heroic in our own time. What challenges do we face? What values do we uphold? How do we strive to leave a positive legacy, even in a world that can often feel chaotic and uncertain?
Those are powerful questions to ponder, and that's what we hope this deep dive has provided. A springboard for further exploration, a spark to ignite your own curiosity about Beowulf and the enduring power of storytelling.
It's been a fascinating journey, hasn't it? And we've only scratched the surface. There's so much more to discover in the depths of this epic poem.
So to our listeners, we encourage you to continue exploring the world of Beowulf. Read the poem for yourself, watch adaptations, delve into the historical context. There's a wealth of knowledge and inspiration waiting to be unearthed.
And as you journey through the echoes of this ancient tale, remember to reflect on the lessons it offers, the questions it raises, and the enduring power of stories to connect us across time and cultures.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the heart of Beowulf. We hope you've enjoyed the exploration, and we look forward to welcoming you back for our next adventure into the world of knowledge and discovery.